Two new coronavirus trouble spots and scandal on the Ruby Princess deepens. Tonight, first questions to the head of Carnival, a passenger still in a coma a month on. Exclusive plans to relax the rules, Bondi Beach to reopen, how will it work? Gone, effective now, the NRL CEO pushed out as the league continues to struggle. A supermarket spitter leaves a Woolworths guard in hospital, why the offender escaped a $5,000 fine. Virgin Airlines heading for administration, New South Wales and Queensland fighting over a bailout. Also tonight, police tried tasers, then opened fire. A man who took on officers shot dead at Rockdale. And 6-star seafood at supermarket prices, the best restaurant produce headed for our shelves.
Live from Sydney, 7 News with Mark Ferguson.
Good evening. A terrible incident. That's how the boss of Carnival Australia has described that fateful March voyage of the Ruby Princess. Tonight we can also reveal one of the initial two passengers to test positive for coronavirus remains in a coma on her 35th wedding anniversary, separated from her devoted husband.
His company under police investigation, 21 deaths, nearly 1,000 infections worldwide.
Has your company put profits over people?
Terrible incident, terrible tragedy all over the world, impacting people, passengers, crew members and their families.
Carnival Australia's ship, the Ruby Princess, at the centre of a global health scandal.
So why did that cruise go ahead on March 8th?
As you know, there's an investigation going on. There's an inquiry going on, and it would be inappropriate for me to...
Will you apologise to the families of the victims?
David Walters is waiting for one. His wife is in a coma with COVID-19 after developing symptoms on board.
Yeah, she had a flu test that came back negative, and the doctors still reckoned it was the flu.
Ruby Princess doctors took a second swab from Kim.
I had to wait to get back to shore, of course, to get them tested.
One of 13 swabs handed over to New South Wales Health when the ship docked on March 19.
We'd been better off staying on there at that stage.
It would come back positive as Kim and David prepared to board a flight home to Tasmania from Sydney Airport.
This was probably an hour away from getting on the plane. New South Wales Health gave Kim a call to say that she'd had the virus and to stay where she is, we'll come and get you.
David hasn't seen Kim for 30 days. Today is the couple's 35th wedding anniversary.
Yes, it's very tough.
Today, another 19 crew members tested positive for coronavirus, bringing the total number of people on board with COVID-19 to 190. Regardless, authorities are pushing for the Ruby Princess to leave Australia this Thursday, leaving behind infected passengers and loved ones still clinging to hope.
I'd just like to say happy anniversary to my angel.
Will you apologise to those families?
Miley Hogan, 7 News.
Social restrictions have been eased along some of Sydney's most popular beaches, but not along others, leaving a mishmash of rules. Tonight we can reveal exclusive details for plans to reopen Australia's most famous beach and get swimmers and surfers back to Bondi.
Coogee, and a new day dawns, one flagging the possibility of life after lockdowns. The beach reopened.
Hopefully everyone, abides by the rules.
Alongside Clovelly and Maroubra, a rare moment authorities are announcing less restrictions, not more.
It was awesome. It's so good. Everyone's smiling, chatting to each other.
They seem to be maintaining social distance, so it's pretty good.
After 3 weeks closed, Randwick Council is allowing access for the active. It still means you can't sit, stand or sunbake.
It is only purely for exercise purposes and to help people out with their physical and mental well-being.
But they warn it could be revoked in an instant.
All of us have given up a lot to get to where we are, and then if a handful of people do the wrong thing, we're back to where we were a month ago, and we don't want to be back there.
But just to the north, Bondi, Bronte and Tamarama, the sand still banned. And critics are demanding the government step in to end the confusion.
So there should be a consistent rule on beaches.
Waverley Council does have a plan for Bondi Beach, it just hasn't been released yet. But 7 News has obtained a copy, and the bad news is that the sand will remain locked down. They'll only open access to the water.
The graphic shows 2 fenced corridors, south for surfers to enter the water and north for swimmers to access. The current fencing barricades would remain. with similar plans for Bronte and for Tamarama, ending the need for surfers to make the dangerous leap from rocks. Today, 6 more cases overnight, the state total inching towards 3,000. But critically, 2 of them are at the Newmarch Anglicare home, with pathologists even working to ensure no link to the Ruby Princess.
The cluster is under investigation and we're using genome sequencing to map the contacts.
The latest hotspot list has been released with 2 new areas, Parramatta and Canada Bay, as more testing clinics open today, including this drive-through in Liverpool, and here at Riverstone, Australia's first drive-through respiratory clinic, appointment only for a very different breath test.
Check their oxygen levels, check their breathing rate, check and see how easy it is for them to talk.
Test numbers soared to 24,000 last week, up by 4,000. They're aiming for more this week.
And Chris Reason joins me now from Bondi. Chris, when will that beach reopen?
Good evening to you, Mark. Well, the Mayor of Waverley issued a statement late this afternoon saying that they're reiterating their position. They have no intention of opening its beaches at this time. But 7 News has learned that they were planning, indeed, to open today right alongside Randwick. We've been speaking to the Health Minister, Brad Hazzard, who tells us that the plans are close to being finalised and arrangements with New South Wales Health. But what still has to happen is they have to sign off with the lifeguards and also get some signage done for those corridors down through the beaches. So it's looking more likely this thing will be ready to go by this weekend. That is, of course, if the council give the final green light. Mark.
OK, Chris Reason at Bondi, thank you. The NRL has a new boss tonight after Todd Greenberg stepped down as CEO effective immediately. Let's go to Matt Carmichael at NRL headquarters. Matt, he's faced growing pressure as the game struggles with the corona pandemic.
Well, good evening, Mark. Yeah, even in a pandemic, the NRL has found a way to keep pace with a crisis of its own. Now, with the clubs, the commission and the broadcasters all losing their trust in Todd Greenberg, his position had really become untenable. There was a belief that this day was coming ever since the time Peter V'landys arrived as the chairman late last year, but he and Greenberg had put on a united front really up until recently, when this crisis raised alarm about the spending of the game and the way it was being run here. The broadcasters then froze Greenberg out of the talks about how to restart the competition. The distrust continued and he really had to go. There was no press conference or anything today. He just released a statement saying he thanked the game for what it had given him and his family, and he will go with some very fond memories, of course, from his time at Canterbury as well. Peter V'landys released a very brief statement thanking Todd Greenberg. Now, he will be replaced for now by the chief commercial operator, Andrew Abdo. He's become a trusted confidant of Peter V'landys as they search for a replacement. We'll have more on this in the coming days, Mark. OK, Matt Carmichael, Admore Park, thank you. With thousands of jobs and billions of dollars at stake, Virgin Australia is on the brink of voluntary administration tonight. The board is meeting for emergency talks as the carrier struggles under $5 billion in debt. Now, a rescue plan by New South Wales has sparked a vicious interstate brawl.
Virgin is trying everything to survive, appealing to the public's wallets.
Since we came along, airfares have reduced in Australia by 37%.
And their hearts.
They're people that I can turn to help me get through things.
16,000 direct and indirect Virgin workers fearing for their jobs, calling for government help, any government.
We're not in a fight with Queensland, we're in a fight to keep businesses in business and people in jobs.
Proposing Virgin relocate its headquarters to the Western Sydney Airport and out of Brisbane.
Can I just say this to the New South Wales Treasurer? Back off. Back right off, just don't go there.
To seal the deal, New South Wales could offer the embattled airline financial help. Queensland has already pledged $200 million.
Now, New South Wales might want to bring a pea shooter to the fight, that's fine. We'll bring a bazooka.
Even in a COVID crisis, time still for state rivalries.
At the end of the day, my government's responsible for New South Wales. I don't apologise for that. I'm the Premier of this state.
Right now, these are airlines sitting in parking spots. No matter the airport, the question is, how long can Virgin keep going without the most important element, passengers?
Unions say the main priority is supporting Virgin workers.
If this company goes down, the federal government will be up for $800 million.
The Virgin board to shortly decide the airline's fate. Chris Maher, 7 News.
A 27-year-old man is facing numerous charges for punching and spitting on a security guard at a Woolworths in Merrylands. The disturbing attack was caught on camera. It adds to a growing list of assaults on shopping centre staff.
He threw a dummy punch, and as Peter Tatai was escorted from Woolworths Merrylands. No dummy spit. This was real, up close and very personal for the security guard trying to eject him. And then the right hook was savage enough to send the guard to hospital for stitches on a split lip.
It is terrible. I know him. He's very sad.
Abdullah Rehan says the spitting in times like these is just as bad as the punch.
If we stay in isolation, that means no job for 14 days. You know what I mean? So it's terrible.
Woolworths security guards wore masks today. They chased Tatai down and held him until police made their arrest.
Yeah, angry, yelling, causing a big scene.
Quite disappointed to see this kind of behaviour.
If it was so repulsive, this spitting incident might be almost considered comical, given the allegation Tatai was asked to leave Woolworths in the first place for allegedly abusing other shoppers for not practising social distancing. $5,000 fines now apply for spitting attacks on anyone, not just frontline workers.
The fine for the $5,000 starts as of today, and of course this incident happened yesterday afternoon.
Which means Tatai will not have to pay it, but his legal bills will likely exceed $5,000. The security guard's wounds attracted a charge of recklessly causing grievous bodily harm and a maximum 10-year jail sentence. Robert Ovadia, 7 News.
A Bondi man arrested after going for a swim off the northern headland yesterday has described the police involved as like crazy dogs attacking a lion. Local strongman Dmitry Moskovich claims he did nothing wrong, but police say he disobeyed lockdown rules and then their directions.
This bronzed Bondi identity might be 54, but Dmitry Moskovich is built like a Russian tank. No pushover, and now accused of resisting police when they tried to arrest him yesterday. It's claimed he breached the Bondi lockdown by climbing the fence to swim off the Benbuckler rocks.
I never climb any fence, full stop.
Police saw it differently, saying he could only reach the water by disobeying the rules and refused to be handcuffed. 2 officers wrestling him to the ground as bystanders looked on.
Any arrest in a public space is a confronting scene, but the alternative is that police stand by and let people walk by after allegedly committing offences, and I can't support that.
Mr Moskovich says they attacked him first.
The guys jumped on me like 2 crazy dogs jumping on a lion. The woman jumped on my legs, the guy on my neck.
Mr Moskovich says he never entered the restricted area via this staircase. He says he walked through an adjoining unit block, but he did, however, return this way, and that's when police stopped him.
I went to a friend's building. No, you break it, you climb the barricade. I said, look guys, I'm sorry.
Mr Moskovich is well known at the beach, working out at the North Bondi gym in those trademark budgie smugglers. We'll see if he's tough enough to beat these charges when he faces court in July. Peter Fegan, 7 News.
In a world first, tech giants could be forced to pay Australian media companies millions of dollars to use their news content. The federal government has announced a radical overhaul of online advertising to help local publishers struggling with a loss of revenue. But the big tech companies are fighting the move.
Muscling up to the tech giants.
We won't bow to their threats.
Announcing a mandatory code of conduct forcing Facebook and Google to pay traditional media outlets for the news content they display on their sites to attract billions in advertising.
These are big companies that we're dealing with, but there's also so much at stake, so we're prepared for this fight.
Of the $9 billion in online advertising each year, Google pockets $4.2 billion, Facebook $2.2, leaving the media companies that produce the news under strict regulations without a cent.
These digital giants have been able to come into the country, do whatever they want, use our content, effectively take it for free, and not be subject to any of those same conditions.
The government losing patience as talks over a voluntary code stalled.
Really, the future of media, the future of journalism was at stake here.
European governments have tried and failed. Now the ACCC will attempt to put a price on news and make Australia the first country in the world to make the tech giants pay.
I'm confident we'll get there. I can't be 100% sure. If this was easy, it would have been done before.
Labor has been calling for some time for this process to be fast-tracked, so we welcome the progress that has been made today.
In statements, Google claimed it's worked for many years to be a collaborative partner to the news industry, and Facebook declared, "We're disappointed by the government's announcement." The traditional media united in support.
We're not looking for a break here, we're just looking for a level playing field and for something that is fair.
A draft code is now due for release by the end of July. Mark Riley, 7 News.
New Zealand will ease its tough lockdown next week. The country will move out of level 4 restrictions to level 3 from next Monday. Under the relaxed rules, schools will reopen and more businesses, including construction and manufacturing, can get back to work.
We have done what very few countries have been able to do. We have stopped a wave of devastation.
New Zealand has recorded 1,440 coronavirus cases and just 12 deaths. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson could be back to work next week, determined to lead his country out of this crisis, despite plenty of criticism that he's mishandled it. UK hospitals treating COVID-19 patients are set to run out of protective equipment today.
When the survival rate of being on a ventilator is 50-50, every patient saved is celebrated. This British dad in his 50s, one of the first to leave London's makeshift hospital.
We're really proud to have played our part in saving Mr Chung's life and helping him to get back to his family.
The facility, built in 9 days, was a win for the government. A shortage of protective gear, a failure. 84 desperately needed tonnes of it has been delayed. Doctors are terrified, but Downing Street has defended its handling of the crisis, refuting claims Boris Johnson sleepwalked into it.
The idea that the Prime Minister skipped meetings that were vital to our response to the coronavirus, I think is grotesque.
So far, the recovering Prime Minister has been unable to defend himself, but a week after being discharged from hospital, he is giving orders again, reportedly telling government aides to focus on preventing a second wave of the outbreak. With more than 100,000 lives lost in Europe, leaders across the continent share that goal. In Turkey, President Erdogan is building a hospital on an Istanbul runway, while in front of a fireplace, Vladimir Putin assured Russians he has things under control. In London, Sarah Greenhalgh, 7 News.
The death toll in the United States has hit a grim new milestone, doubling in just 1 week, with 40,000 lives now lost. Despite the deadly danger, pressure is growing to ease restrictions. State leaders say they won't do it until they have sufficient testing.
With good news in one hand,
Trump rewrites the book on emergencies. That's what's happened too.
And promising news in the other.
Anybody like to see what it looks like?
Donald Trump practiced America's next priority.
Reminds you of this, right? One's a swab, one's a Q-tip.
The millions of COVID-19 tests needed before the country can get back to work.
There is a sufficient capacity of testing across the country today for any state in America to go to a phase 1 level.
Some states plan to begin easing restrictions as early as tomorrow.
That's just delusional to be making statements like that.
Protesters are still demanding a lockdown end, but healthcare workers today quietly blocked rallies. They fear it's just too early. Currently, 150,000 diagnostic tests are conducted in the US each day. Experts say that number needs to triple.
It's crazy that we have shut our economy down because we don't have enough nasal swabs.
Sunday here in New York, the spring weather is warming up and we've seen more people out and about today than we have for weeks. And one of the big concerns for authorities is complacency. After a month of being told to stay at home, New Yorkers are being reminded that social distancing is still one of the only weapons there is against the virus.
We can control the beast, yes, but the beast is still alive. We did not kill the beast. And the beast can rise up again.
In Los Angeles, police swarm on hundreds partying on a rooftop the same day the city recorded its highest daily death toll so far. In New York, Paul Kadak, 7 News.
Time now for a check on our weather. Here's Brownie.
Yes, thanks very much, Fergo. Cool and dull today right across the entire Sydney Basin and most of the state for that matter. In fact, have a look at the latest satellite imagery. We're tracking a band of middle and high-level cloud that stretches from border to border. And over the next 5 days, it's a dry outlook for most of our state. In fact, not a drop of rain is expected in our backyard right through till Saturday evening. But some fog patches are possible in the outer west first thing tomorrow, dropping down to 9 degrees at a number of places in the Macarthur region. But right now, you'll notice it's sitting on 15 degrees in Camden. Parramatta, we've got 19 degrees. Up the coast at Gosford, it's sitting on 20. Local forecast in detail, top of the hour. Fergo?
We'll see you then, David. Thank you. A tense manhunt has ended with a deadly shooting in Rockdale. Next, police opened fire on a man armed with a meat tenderiser. What happened in the moments before they used deadly force? Rounded up on the roof, extraordinary scenes as a police chopper crashes an unlawful gathering with a warning on loudspeaker. Canada's deadliest shooting, a gunman disguised as a policeman on a 12-hour attack. Here, Little Piggy, the speedy swine that took cops for a run. And later, is Corona stimulus really working? Are we still spending, and what lies ahead? Welcome back. Police have used a chopper to break up an unlawful roof party after spotting 3 young men gathering in a place they thought was out of sight. That is, until the helicopter loudspeaker kicked in.
It's the police to the 3 people sitting on the building rooftop. Yes, we can see you. One with a hoodie in the middle with your cold drinks.
With the building surrounded, all 3 were issued $1,300 fines for breaching health rules. 2 of them were charged with drug possession. They were also fined for trespassing. Police have shot a man dead after he charged at them armed with a meat tenderiser and a hammer. Officers confronted the 51-year-old at Rockdale where he was behaving erratically. When tasers didn't work, a probationary constable responded with deadly force.
A gunshot wound to his chest. Efforts to save the man's life are in vain. Shot by police in a fiery confrontation, the suspect dies at the scene just after midnight.
I was asleep, just only I wake up on one shot and that's all.
Saw all the commotion out there, all the vehicles, all the lights, flashing lights around.
Investigators say the 51-year-old had made threatening phone calls to another person from his Brighton Le Sands home earlier in the evening. Police tracked his mobile phone and ended up at this reserve in Rockdale. After an hour-long search, they found him armed and acting erratically.
He eventually ran at police officers, armed with a meat tenderiser.
Police say the 51-year-old was known to them for mental health issues and they tried to calm him down. When he refused to surrender, officers first deployed their tasers, but when that didn't stop him, one officer fired a single shot. The officer has been in the police force for less than 12 months.
It happened within split seconds. No police officer goes to work wanting this to happen, I can assure you of that.
The shooting is now the focus of an independent review. Natasha Squarey, 7 News.
A gunman disguised as a policeman is behind the deadliest shooting rampage in Canadian history. It began in remote Nova Scotia, where bodies were found at a home. The gunman then evaded police, moving and shooting random targets. Over a horrifying 12 hours, 16 people were killed. Police hunted him down as locals already on COVID lockdown hid in their basements.
She goes, "Oh my God, lock the doors. He's here." And I peek out the window and I saw some RCMP vehicles and there was 4 or 5 uniform with guns.
One of the deceased was a veteran policewoman. The gunman, a 51-year-old, was finally cornered at a service station and shot dead. Harry and Meghan have escalated their war with the tabloids, writing to 4 newspaper editors to say they'll never work with them again. Under the couple's new zero engagement rule, the Daily Mail, The Sun, The Express and The Mirror will be banned from receiving updates and photos and could be blocked from attending events. The Sussexes accuse the publications of using clickbait and salacious gossip to increase revenue. Now cue the Benny Hill music. Police in Connecticut spent a solid 45 minutes chasing down a runaway pig.
Oh, distraction. Holy shit.
After multiple failed attempts to trap him in a bin and between legs, the hog's freedom finally came to an end.
Get him, mate. Yeah.
Apparently he's a pet. Police are now looking for his owner. A Sydney naturopath is under investigation over COVID home testing kits. Next, her explanation for the online deal as doctors hit back with their advice. Smash and grab robbers on the run, the video police hope will help track them down. Your privacy addressed, what a new review's found about the corona tracking app the government wants to introduce. And the chorus of voices uniting for our Anzacs, how you can join a special commemoration. So major breaking news now, and Virgin Australia is believed to have gone into voluntary administration. Let's go to Chris Marr at Sydney Airport. Chris, what's the very latest?
Well, Mark, after a crisis meeting of the Virgin board this afternoon and this evening, it's understood they've decided to hand the company to voluntary administration, the Deloitte company. It comes after the failure by Virgin to secure financial help from the federal government. They were after financial aid of $1.4 billion. It, of course, leaves real doubts and concerns for Virgin's 10,000 employees, a further 6,000 workers who rely on Virgin Australia for their incomes. And of course it does remind us of the collapse of the Anzac group some years ago. It does of course affect the competition in the aviation industry as Virgin seeks a white knight. Its future, unlike its planes right now, is seriously up in the air, Mark.
Yeah, a lot of jobs on the line, Chris. Thank you. Business leaders are backing the phone app the federal government is planning to use to track the spread of coronavirus in the community. A review of its privacy protections has given it approval today, but its acceptance isn't universal, even within coalition ranks.
Packed full of paying customers. Lunchtime in a city food hall last month. Today, the same place is a corona victim.
Yep, it's stressful. A lot of businesses, of course, haven't had much work coming in over the last couple of months.
The government's hoping its controversial corona tracking app, set for release within weeks, will help restore the first picture more quickly. Today, the independent Cybersecurity Cooperative Research Centre finished its privacy review, saying it found nothing particularly disturbing with the app. But that won't reassure everyone.
My major concerns is, doesn't matter what they say, there's always the capacity for people to hack into it.
Despite cross-party cooperation.
Yeah, I'm absolutely up for it, and the Labor Party will pursue the privacy and protection issues.
The government is hoping for a 40% take-up, despite a similar app in Singapore getting just half that.
We think that Australians will embrace this. And the reason we think so is because we've been very clear in what the app is about. This is not a geolocation app, for example.
Some business leaders have also thrown their weight behind the app, saying it'll bring around a safe reopening of the economy and a return to normality sooner.
Keeping some people happy about their privacy isn't going to help the great majority of people who want to keep their health.
Gemma Acton, 7 News.
The state's health watchdog is investigating a naturopath in Sydney's northwest for selling COVID testing kits online for $130 each. The woman denies any wrongdoing, but also claims to have herbs to protect people against the illness.
Outside her natural therapies clinic, Diana Mund is standing firm.
There's nothing to talk about.
Well, there is. It's quite a concerning thing.
Because it's fake news.
But there's nothing fake about the advertisement on her Facebook page offering coronavirus self-testing kits. You're trying to sell home testing kits?
No, we're not.
What are you selling?
No, I'm not selling anything.
The ad, now removed, says the tests can be sent directly to your home address or to our clinic for drive-through collection. Mund claims she's just referring clients to a Melbourne pathology company.
I think it's actually very dangerous. That tests should be something which you get done by ordering it over the internet or getting it by phone order.
Are you giving any advice to your clients about alternative treatments?
No.
But this is Mund's voicemail.
We have wonderful, beautiful antiviral herbs and other things to help protect you and help you through this.
The Healthcare Complaints Commission confirmed to 7 News it would look at potential breaches of federal regulation and guidelines. The other sting in the tail here is the cost, $130 a pop. The AMA says that you can get the tests done for free here at clinics like this one. The HCCC will consider a prohibition order and a warning. Evan Batten, 7 News.
Police are hoping new security video will help track down a trio of bandits who raided a city jewellery store last month. $600,000 worth of diamond bracelets, earrings and necklaces was stolen in a smash and grab robbery. A black Mercedes was used as a getaway car. Police say anyone who recognises the vehicle should come forward. It's a day of remembrance and reflection, bringing together memories and music. Now an Anzac Day virtual children's choir is taking shape, reminding us while we may be at home in solitude, we can still be together in song.
Some of these young vocalists wear the medals of their forefathers.
Australians, all that hearts rejoice.
They're singing alone in these videos, but together form a virtual Anzac Day choir.
Australians, all that hearts rejoice, for we are young and free.
Every time I look, I just want to cry. And the passion and, you know, the understanding that the young people are singing with is really quite extraordinary.
Luckily, there are still a few days to brush up on the lyrics.
We've got a couple of really young kids. It's only about the last 5 words that they actually get right, but it's very cute.
Organisers are hoping to have as many voices as possible from all parts of the country involved in the final video, which will be live streamed on Saturday afternoon as part of a special Anzac Day concert put on by children.
Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn.
At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
To remember them, keeping them in my heart because of the immense sacrifice that they made so I could live peacefully.
While still having fun. Jessica Ridley, 7 News.
Is the stimulus spend already over? Next, where the boost is working and falling short, what economists are now saying. A family's X-rated discovery inside a kid's book from Kmart.
Cool and cloudy today, but it's warming up. Details soon.
Checking finance, and the ASX 200 began the week badly, falling around 2.5%. Energy companies slumped in response to a fall in oil prices, Origin and Woodside Petroleum among them. Caltex also fell sharply after a multi-billion-dollar acquisition bid from Canada fell through. And the Aussie dollar is buying just over 63.5 US cents. The price of petrol continues to fall across Sydney, now averaging just under 97 cents a litre, with regular unleaded as low as 73.7 cents in Campbelltown. It's been nearly 3 months since a driver allegedly high on drugs and alcohol hit and killed 4 young children in Oatlands as they walked to the shops. Tonight, some welcome news. Danny and Layla Abdallah have revealed their nephew, Charbel Cassis, critically injured in the crash, is now out of a coma.
Today he's speaking, he's alert, he's hearing, he can see, he's walking, thank God.
Siblings Anthony, Angelina and Sienna Abdallah died in the crash along with their cousin Veronique Saker. Kmart has taken a popular children's item off its shelves after it was found to contain lewd material. Queensland mother Tony Alamos discovered a page inside her daughter's Frozen 2 diary, included a checklist of explicit acts, devices and locations.
On the first page there was just some really a bound piece of paper in there in the binding, some lewd words, and it was just disturbing.
Kmart says it's embarrassed and has apologised. The department store is now investigating. The pandemic has certainly changed household budgets, with those considered well off cutting back, while lower income earners are spending more thanks to government stimulus. But there are signs the effect of the $750 payment might already be over, with economists now predicting a prolonged downturn.
First, there was hoarding, resulting in a spending splurge. That's now declining, but not where you might expect.
There's been a big difference between the spending of higher income and lower income earners. Higher income earners' spending is down 25%.
Overall, spending is down 18% on pre-lockdown levels. Many have chosen to save a big chunk, $424, of the $750 stimulus payment. The big ticket items are groceries at $109, clothing and merchandise $58, rent and housing $38, and takeaway food $28. The stimulus has delivered an overall boost to our struggling economy, with spending on food delivery up 59%. Apps, gaming and music have all risen by 53%, and online gambling has jumped 38%. Predictably, gyms have taken a 96% hit, along with entertainment and venues down 90% and travel minus 84%.
We're starting to develop a thesis that it will take longer to recover.
How much longer potentially?
6 to 12 months.
Experts predict up to 28% of Australian workers, or 3.6 million people, could lose their jobs, contributing to a further steep decline in overall economic activity. But for how long? No one can say for sure. Superannuation funds will this week begin distributing up to $10,000 from members' accounts, with nearly 1 million registering interest in early withdrawals.
If needs must, take it out, but only do it as a last resort.
Brian Seymour, 7 News.
Seafood fit for a 6-star restaurant on our supermarket shelves. Coming up, it's the produce once exclusively sold to chefs. But with dining out in lockdown, it'll soon be available to everyone. What's on the menu and what's the price? Don't miss that story soon on 7 News. But now Mel is here with sport, and it's over for Todd Greenberg at the NRL.
That's right, it is, Fergo. After months of intense pressure and speculation, after 4 years in the NRL's top job, Todd Greenberg is gone. We'll recap this huge story next. Plus, the Sydney-based Warriors working out and waiting for a reunion with their teammates. And with many predicting another pay dispute coming at Cricket Australia, a softly spoken star bowler turns voice of reason. Welcome back. As we reported earlier, Todd Greenberg's 4-year tenure as Chief Executive of the NRL is over. Greenberg walked away from the position this afternoon after a meeting with Commission Chairman Peter V'landys. He'd been under increasing pressure ever since COVID-19 exposed huge flaws in the game's funding model. Chief Commercial Officer Andrew Abdo has taken the reins on an interim basis. Well, despite the upheaval at head office, plans to restart the season on May 28 continues to gather steam. The Warriors have been cleared to leave New Zealand. They're now waiting on approval from federal authorities to enter Australia and join a handful of teammates who are already here.
The Warriors are pushing hard to make their May 3 arrival down under a reality. Adam Kieran and Wade Egan are both isolating at home in Australia, doing all they can to prepare for the May 28 start date.
Not really out of the picture. They're back there in lockdown, so everyone's kept in the loop, especially us Aussie boys.
It's good to see you home. Family are absolutely enjoying it, but you are being caned.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I've struggled with fitness in the past, but now I'm actually going pretty well.
Family's been a bonus for Kieran during isolation. His partner's sister is a CrossFit coach.
Adam's actually been really motivated, so some days he's actually pushing me. Handstand walking, we've given that a go. It's not his greatest strength.
He's been getting touched up by the people he's been training with, I've heard. I think he might have indulged a little bit too much over Easter, so his skin folds have gone through the roof.
Skin folds?
Egan's been pushing just as hard back in Lithgow, but no matter how match fit the team is, there's still a few hurdles to jump before being eligible to play.
Whatever we need to do as a club, we'll follow in terms of any policies or regulations.
Not having the players' families join them in Australia remains a deal breaker.
It is very key for us, but we need to understand what the competition is, the length of the competition, where we'll be located.
A lot of them have young kids now, just newborns.
Michelle Bishop, 7 News.
Well, facing a severe cash crisis, Cricket Australia found paceman Josh Hazlewood as the voice of reason today. He expects players to cop pay cuts on the chin in a united stance, unlike the bitter dispute that split the sport 2 years ago.
From their humble home gyms and isolation activities, there's been plenty of thinking time.
Joined the local golf course, obviously. Keep me busy out there. The PlayStation's getting a good run.
But Australia's cricket stars didn't see this coming.
It took me a little bit by surprise, I guess, just due to the fact that it's probably happened at a perfect time, I guess, this pandemic for Cricket Australia.
Off-season, with only a couple of one-day internationals lost, but hundreds of millions in cash reserves and money from a record broadcast deal are gone. Cricket could be broke by August.
If it leads into next summer, it can be, quite serious.
Players fought to the point of strike action in 2017 for a revenue sharing deal.
We're not actually trying to just be out there grabbing money left, right and centre.
The days of unprecedented multi-million-dollar central contracts and T20 riches might be over, and they know it.
Yeah, we're obviously partners in the game, and we've always said that. We've ridden the highs, and now it's probably time to ride the lows.
As they wait for word from Cricket Australia, Hazelwood was measured on many questions, losing support staff, hosting India at one venue this summer, even how to hygienically shine the ball.
This is sort of strange times and anything can happen.
Matt Carmichael, 7 News.
Well, one of the most anticipated sporting documentaries of all time is here. The Last Dance, a series about Michael Jordan's Chicago Bulls, debuted to huge acclaim this morning. Jordan's legendary competitive instinct was typified by his determination to return early from a serious foot injury.
I said to Michael, you're not understanding the risk-reward ratio. If you had a terrible headache and I gave you a bottle of pills and 9 of the pills would cure you and 1 of the pills would kill you, would you take a pill?
I look at him, I said, depends on how bad the headache is.
Fair enough. The second episode touched on Scottie Pippen's anger at being grossly underpaid. He earned less than Aussie teammate Luke Longley, of course, who was part of that superstar lineup. Fergo, hotly anticipated. These tapes have been waiting for over 2 decades to be seen.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that. It's on my long to-do list.
Yeah, it's a long one, isn't it? What to watch?
Looking good. Good on you, Mel. Thank you. The pandemic shutdown has forced the closure of some of our best eateries, but there may be a silver lining. You can now dine in on restaurant quality food for a fraction of the price. Meat and seafood, once exclusively sold to chefs, will soon be available to everyone at the supermarket.
High-grade sashimi that was in high demand.
Our business collapsed about 3 weeks ago due to COVID-19.
Usually exported to the US, Japan and dished up at Australia's finest restaurants.
We can't get flights and we also can't send our fish overseas because of so many closures.
Opening the door to a rare collaboration, this certified sustainable yellowfin tuna destined for 150 Coles supermarkets along the east coast.
If you were to buy this fish at the Sydney fish markets, you'd be paying in excess of $80 a kilo.
This premium style tuna is $35 a kilo. We know that these suppliers are doing it tough, but our customers are the big winners here.
Despite the current economic climate, Woolworths is reporting more customers buying premium cuts. Beef eye fillet steak has seen a sales increase of 60% in recent weeks. Supermarkets expanding their range as restaurant demand drops. Usually destined for export markets, West Australian rock lobster among the new offerings.
Things like quail, spatchcock and corn-fed chicken so that our customers can have it available in their homes.
Changes keeping companies afloat and local produce on Australian dinner tables. Elliot Chipper, 7 News.
David Brown is back with the latest forecast now. Brownie, how's the rest of the week shaping up?
It'll be warmer than today, Fergo, and sunny too. I'll have your local forecast straight after the break.
Tonight on the latest from 7 News, with New Zealand easing social restrictions, we compare our country's COVID curves. A cybersecurity expert reveals the 3 things you need to know before downloading a coronavirus tracing app. And Meghan Markle's first TV gig since parting ways with the royal family. That's tonight at 10 p.m. on the latest from 7 News.
Tonight's 7 News headlines: Virgin Australia goes into voluntary administration after failing to find a rescue plan. Carnival's boss calls the Ruby Princess fiasco a terrible incident. NRL boss Todd Greenberg pushed out, effective immediately. And Bondi Beach could be split into 2 under leaked plans to reopen. Now the very latest on Sydney's weather, here's David.
Thanks very much, Fergo. Well, it's been cool and cloudy today under an extensive deck of middle and high-level cloud, but we are expecting sunny weather tomorrow and warmer conditions. Today's top, well, there it is, only 19.6 degrees. That happened around mid-afternoon. That's some 2 degrees on the cool side of average. Having said that, we had the odd drop of rain just pass through during the early part of the morning, barely enough to wet the ground, but you'll notice low 20s were rather popular during the second half of the day. As we move on to the latest satellite data, we're keeping an eye on this northwest cloud deck that stretches across most of the country and it's impacting all of our state. As I mentioned earlier, produced a few teasing drops in our neck of the woods earlier today, but we have had regular reports of isolated showers about the western slopes of the Great Dividing Range, but all falls generally less than 1 millimetre. The cloud deck is expected to break down and gradually contract towards the Queensland border tomorrow. You can see that from our forecast chart. To the south, though, there's a cold front slipping across Victoria. It will bring some rain to that state later tomorrow. But nationwide, We're expecting another warm and sunny day in Brisbane, around 28 degrees. Melbourne, a fine day, but of course rain coming in tomorrow night once that change moves through. And as for Perth, it should be fine and sunny at around 25 degrees. For our state, some early fog patches are on the way, for mainly along the ranges, then a dry and generally sunny day overall with light winds inland, and once again afternoon sea breezes will clip the coastal fringe. Closer in, warmer tomorrow. There's the forecast for your Tuesday. Yes, lots of sunshine throughout the day, and this time maxima reaching the mid-20s by early afternoon. As we go to the coast, it's another day of smooth seas. Yes, and a low swell as well. A northerly kicking in later in the day, but not much in it. For the city, that northerly breeze should push the mercury towards 25 degrees, coming off a low there of 14. Let's move on to that 7-day outlook. There it is. It's sunshine all the way through. Temperatures generally a few degrees above average. That's the latest weather, Fergo. It's looking good.
What a week.
Indeed.
Good on you, Brownie. Thank you. That is 7 News for this Monday. We'll have updates for you throughout the evening and the latest at 10 p.m. I'm Mark Ferguson from all the team. I hope you have a great night.